Well, I guess, let me move the microphone back over here. I guess everything is going well. This is going to be a roll in, going free, just for some of my thoughts and to see some of your questions. I know that there are people who are pretty depressed right now about and fearful about what's going on in the United States. So I thought I would pop on briefly and speak specifically to your questions. Entropy is up and running if you want to put questions there. Of course, looks like I've got Cash App up and running. And I do want to mention that before we finished on Sunday, or right as we finished, we received a financial gift from the wonderful, sweet lady, I Love Jesus Christ, who financially gifted us $10. And she writes, for White Wellbeing. So thank you so very much. I love Jesus Christ. And I hope you see that we did the roll-in and we did indeed get to your financial gift. I see a lot of great people who are here. This, of course, is the advanced class. So if you check your schedules right now, and if you don't see AP beside your name, then you are to go down the hall and take a dunce cap and sit with the rest. Mid-wittery for the rest of you. Everyone else here, if your schedule says AP beside your name, why, you're in the right place. You did very well on your IQ test. Great to see you all. Art is Life, Western Renaissance, Sebastian, Heidi, Rick, Staying Alive, Jesse No Offense, Intellectual Embargo, who I mentioned today, and over on PWR, Be Volkish, Orpheus, Chet, great Carlisle Cockatoo, very sweet lady. Thank you for being here. Grayman the Gray, Rub-a-Dub, Groundhog Fury is here. Wow. Great to see you as well. Ulrak is here. Baldor, Art Acrobats, Feminine, not Feminist. Great to see you as well. And haven't seen Rub-a-Dub Media in a while. Great to see you. Western Sunrise, I had a discussion recently with a bartender about anti-white groups. She wholeheartedly agreed when I said, have a good day, suggested reading Go Free. She replied, thank you. Wonderful job. Well done, Western Sun. Let's get a couple round of raucous emojis for Western Sunrise speaking up to the bartender. And who knows how much that will do in her life now, how well off she will be, what sort of problems she will avert, the people that she will end up saving as a consequence. So that is what we should be doing, and it is a noble thing to do, because we have to be endeavoring to share the lexicon. That's the lexicon and dialectics from Going Free. That's the primary thing that we need to get started doing. And then when people seem receptive to that, we introduce them to Going Free and really provide them with the antidote to the anti-white narrative, to the meme pathogens that they are infected with. And as a consequence, you Going Free, you are able to understand scenarios like yesterday and fully comprehend the depth of the meaning, predict where we go from here, retrodict how we got here, and become more efficient at self-improvement, overcoming the meme pathogens that are inside of you, and taking that aid and goodwill to the vagues out there, our brothers and sisters who are receptive, and white well-being to everyone of all immutable characteristics who are receptive and who are concerned about anti-whiteism destroying the civilization that they have come to love. So great to see you all here, and everybody else. AKGG, Andrew, Magpie, James, Nordic Iron, great to see you, good brother. We were just on PWR. How many did we bring over with us from PWR? You know how it is when it comes to the AP class. It's always smaller for some reason. I don't know what it is about the AP class. There's always fewer people. Jessica's here. Great to see you. Fraulein Dresden, NWG, someone complimented me yesterday by saying, hey, you sound like that guy, No White Guilt. I can finally say I am the sharpest tool in the shed. Oh, that's great. That is a wonderful compliment. That's fantastic. Thank you so much. Of course, I'm complimenting myself by complimenting that compliment and that compliment given to you. And that's how we can work things here in the AP class. And everybody can follow that circuitous route with ease here. So we can do that. Jonas is here. Have you heard of the current situation? No, I have not. I'll have to look into that. Maybe you could drop a link for me over in the question widget. I would appreciate it so I can read it first chance I get. James says, great to see you. Sebastian is here. I see. Staying alive. Yes, indeed. All right. What do you all want to know about I'll just pose that question at the beginning here. What do you want to know? White Lives Matter is here. Great to see you as well. Well, we were just on with Blair over on PWR, and he shared some thoughts as well. And I think I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do this reaction video on this other Australian guy, Thomas something, because I posed that question the other day. Where did I pose it? I asked people, should I do a reaction video to his video of him and this what everybody is lauding him as, I should say, with this security guard, and because our warnings, because there are a lot of you out in the white positive sphere, those who are going free, who they saw this Thomas character and they immediately said, because they're going free, the bells went off, the red flags went up and the alarms, and they said, do not imitate this guy, do not laud this guy. And we should have been saying it louder, I guess. Maybe we would have saved some people who might end up going to jail as a consequence of his behavior. And I don't know, though. Maybe, we don't have much influence with those people who might end up going to jail. Maybe we wouldn't have, but perhaps we will prevent some other people from getting themselves into a lot of trouble. But we are, and if you think I should do the reaction video to this guy, maybe say so. I think I am, because more than a handful of people have written asking me, after I asked you all whether or not I should, more than a handful have written in and said, yes, it needs to be done. But ultimately, what we're here for this, as the case with all roll-ins, is that they are spur of the moment and they are brief. So I want to get to our issue, which is the Derek Chauvin trial and the outcome. I don't believe it was in question at all what the outcome was going to be. Let me take a look. I will be more actively looking at the chat as we do this. Again, not here long because I have so much to do, and I'm going to have to eat my dinner at the desk while I work, but that's okay. We can do that. Let me see. We already have a financial gift from Yiz the Eunuch. Thank you, sweet sister. $3 financial gift. A big salute to her and all of the success she has. Busy working today, but happened to see your impromptu stream while taking a break and wanted to drop a little folk tithe to send hope in these trying times. Well, I appreciate that. Thank you. So very thoughtful lady. And thank you so very much. Very bright woman as well, and making big gains for White Wellbeing. And we appreciate every single thing that she does. How many of you were listening, by the way? Let me ask this. I will pose the first question so you all can begin thinking about it. What would you like to know from me about the trial, the Chauvin trial, the outcome, the verdict, where it goes from here, how it got here, what people are thinking, any individuals, the positions of conservatives, or I was also thinking about maybe watching, I suspect there'll be coming up in the next couple of days, some live streams by conservatives, doomed documenters, doomed dissectors. And I was thinking maybe do a roll in and then turn them on with a screen share and then speak to what they're saying, show you all where they're wrong, how they are wrong, so that you can use the same verbiage in your life to help bring people over to going free. And while I'm doing that, you all could jump over to those live streams and say, hey, If you like the guy you're listening to or the female you're listening to here, you can watch them over on this other channel, and you can listen from a guy who's critiquing what they have to say. Wouldn't you like to know what he has to say? And maybe bring some folks over to the truth of going free, which is going free of the anti-white infections in us, going free of the anti-white narrative that's out there. But I also wanted to ask, while I have that in your minds, I got a couple questions, I guess, for you all. So as much as I'm here to help, I'm also here to receive help. We did a little bit again of music prior to the roll-in going free, and we are on all of my platforms with the exception of YouTube when we do that. Do you all enjoy that? Does anybody care? Would anybody like to pop over and chat and listen to the good music? Because Lord knows that the only music that's going to play out of my speakers is going to be good. Do you like that? Would you like to participate? Would you like to see more of that? Also, I jumped on the exact same way on all of my platforms with the exception of YouTube prior to PWR, doing the exact same thing. So we were hanging out together, had the good music playing in the background. Would you all like to do that? I mean, maybe you could, if I get here, it's going to depend on when I can get here prior to PWR, but if I can get in front of the mic soon enough, I could start the stream. We could be listening to music prior to PWR, and maybe the PWR community and fans would like to come over and listen to some music. If you all were to let them know, listen to some music and hang out and chat prior to kind of going into the nightclub for PWR, going into the studio for PWR. If that's fun, then let me know. The very next thing I want to know is, am I already financially censored, demonetized on DLive? So can somebody attempt to give me what is the smallest unit of points? A lemon? Can somebody attempt to give me a lemon? And let's see if it works. Because and then also if somebody could jump on over to their DLive main page and see if this stream is on the main page at all. Because it appears on the back end that I have been demonetized already, and I'm going to go ahead and assume that also shadow banned. So we proved that I was shadow banned on DLive this past. Okay, so I have been demonetized, and that means I am shadow banned. So I will just go ahead and revert to primary DLive, and I will, because there's no use then. We proved, though, that DLive, the anti-whites at DLive, are shadow banning me, shadow banning us, because we're not able to reach people on that platform. I don't know if you're going to have to specifically type in, like if you are even able to search for me as a stream to watch. I don't even know. But yes, that's right. They have implemented the permanent X tag, the demonetization. So you remember where Mark was able to have it on, have it off, have it on, whatever. I am not able to do that. So this is what one show, one episode of Going Free, and people were showing interest. They were coming over. So I want everybody to reflect for a brief moment, and we'll talk about Chauvin now in your questions and my thoughts. I want everybody to reflect on the fact that we are shadow banned on not only on the main platforms that everybody knows about, but on the secondary and tertiary platforms. We are shadow banned by anti-whites. Now, the anti-whites shadow ban us. They demonetize us because they don't want anyone else talking to the masses, because that will undermine their ability to control the masses to keep them anti-white. That is why they do that. That is the reason. Forget every excuse they would give. Of course, they're going to give you a lying excuse, because anti-whites are bastards, because they have leathern wings, the hooves and horns. That's why. Nothing is a shock to me when it comes to it's an endless shock to Republicans and an endless shock to conservatives. Every time the can you believe they're lying again? Yes, I can absolutely believe that they're lying to us again. Yes, I can absolutely believe that I'm shadow banned and demonetized again on a pissant little nothing of a platform of D Live. Yes. So that's what we're up against. So I'm just going to go ahead and revert to the primary D Live from now on. Let me know if you all would like to hear more of the music. I enjoy the music, and I guess I will probably, if enough of you show up, enjoy the banter as I'm prepping in the final minutes for the show, whatever show it's going to be. Going Free. Now, the normal Going Free on Sundays, just so everybody knows who might be new here, is a family-friendly show. You can have your adult children present, and I won't be saying any cuss words or anything that would offend them. Remember, when I say adult children, the ear is at the door. The ear is at the door. So keep that in mind. Use your decoder ring. This is the AP class, so let's make it happen. Hyperborean Dream is with us. Great to see you. Let me back up. What absolute scum they dominate all tech. They dominate all governance. They dominate all media. They dominate every single place they dominate. And their anti-white narrative is so fictitious that they can't even permit the smallest of voices to be heard, because they know the smallest of voices being heard is enough to destroy that house of cards that they have built. Absolute bastards. And I'm going to tell you what, anti-whites made use of our ingenuousness. They made use of our fairness. They made use of our on and on. But when we recapture our destiny, we are not going to be fair with anti-whites ever again. Trust in that, everybody running D Live. You all might be making lists of us. We know the Fernal Bureau of Investigation, and we know they're making lists of us. But everybody is going to just remember. We won't have to make a list. We'll just remember who you are. It's going to prevent us, all this effort that's invested, all of this effort that's invested, and be aware that when we invest this effort and they do this, let that piss you off and make extra effort to get the message out to folks. Despicable. All right, so what's going on with Chauvin? What's going on with this whole trial? This is the South Africanization of the United States. It is the South Africanization of the entire Western world. It's what happened to and is happening to our brothers and sisters in the country that is still known South Africa, but had stopped being South Africa a very, very long time ago. You have different standards for justice in the United States and around the world, in the West. And that means that there is no justice. That means there is no law and order, because law and order has to be universal. It has to be universal or it doesn't exist. But you say, but Jason, you still get arrested for shoplifting, or you still get arrested for... Yes, of course. Of course. But that is a means of control of a dominated and conquered population, rather than a means by which harmony in the social contract that an individual has with government is maintained. There's a big difference. It looks the same, but it's like looking at a decoy duck and a real duck. They're completely different. The simulacrum is not the same thing whatsoever. And that is what you have across the West. That is what we are seeing depicted in the United States. The conviction. Now, I didn't bother to dig into, and I'm saying what I did as a suggestion to what would benefit you as well, because I did not dig into the specifics of the trial. I don't need to dig into the specifics. Afterward, when I saw, for the purposes of helping people go free, for the purposes of recapturing our destiny, for the purposes of bettering the lives of individuals and ridding them of the mean pathogens. When I saw that there were 2 second-degree murder charges and even a third-degree murder charge, it was the third-degree murder charge, which was a catch-all. It was set to guarantee a conviction. It was not. This is not like if the tables were turned, because what was on trial was not Derek Chauvin. What was on trial was Western kind. And the conviction is always certain inside the anti-white narrative. That's why if you have, coming up to this case, spend a bunch of time talking about the particulars about the case, you need to kick yourself now, because the particulars about the case are totally irrelevant. You could have been spending that time talking to people about going free. You could have mentioned a particular about the case for the purpose of using it as a foil to discuss going free, to use our dialectic and lexicon. If you talked about the particulars, if you talked about blood tests, if you talked about whatever, because you wanted to take the facts and then put them up against this anti-white religiosity, fanaticism, you were a fool. But it's okay if you were a fool. You can get better. You can never do that again. Learn from the error and never do it again. It's that simple. You don't get a flathead. You don't get a Phillips screwdriver for a flathead screw, right? You made the error. Don't make it again. Don't ever discuss the particulars about the case. How many of you right now have already started arming yourself with the information about the so-called 16-year-old and the knife and the stabbing? How many of you started arming yourself with the data so that when you get into a conversation with somebody in person or on the internet, you can say, well, here is all the data, and the data doesn't matter. It's the anti-white narrative. They are religious fanatics. The data has never mattered. It's never mattered a day in your life, and it never will matter a day in your life. You could take one of those pieces of data for the purpose of delivering the lexicon, the dialectics, the MCs. That's it. That's the only reason you bother with it. Reality doesn't matter when it is at odds with the fiction, the anti-white narrative. This is one of the reasons why I think I should, there are going to be people who are doom dissecting the hell out of this. And their audiences are going to be colossal. And that they are going to be absolutely feckless because of it. The trial was about Western kind. And the particulars, I don't know what happened. I wasn't on the jury. I know that the jury unanimously said, obviously, I guess there was a spoken and an unspoken. They said, guilty, guilty, guilty. Please don't hurt us. That was the unspoken. Guilty, guilty, guilty. Please don't hurt us. Please don't hurt my family. Please don't burn my house down. Every human being would be thinking that. With what all they have to do is look around them in the world. But even if there wasn't the angry, and this is the thing, let's all work together. I made the mistake myself. Let's all work together to not call them looters ever again, to not call them rioters ever again. Yes, they loot. Yes, they riot. But they are anti-white terror troops. This is an anti-white occupying army. Call them terror troops. They are doing what? Instilling terror in you. Instilling, potentially, we don't know for sure, terror in juries. And people are saying now, and it might have even been said on PWR today, I don't know. But how could he have a fair trial when there's the terror troops, the anti-white terror troops are in the streets, and they're supposedly somebody has reported that a pig's head was put at somebody's address and spray paint. I mean, that's a sign of here, a mafioso sign of here comes the murder. You understand the head, decapitated head. Next is yours. So they're saying, how could he get a free trial? He couldn't get a free trial, or fair trial rather, because every single person in the courtroom is living inside the anti-white narrative. Every jury member of his peers, they all hate white people. If they live inside the anti-white narrative, they are infected with mean pathogens. Which means that anybody, forget this guy's name. And by the way, his conviction is not for 8 years and then parole. It's not for 40 years and then parole. It's not for 80 years and then parole. It is a death sentence because he is a police officer in jail and because of everything that is now known. What do you think the revenge, how quickly do you think the revenge is going to take place on this guy by the anti-whites in prison, irrespective of their race? Who's going to put the money down? Or maybe they'll put him in solitary confinement and he'll go totally insane because he'll get 30 minutes of time out of a 5x5 room or whatever it is. And then eventually, even when they put in solitary confinement, you eventually get put out into the, what do they call it? Like the communal area. Eventually you get moved into that group. And then that's when he gets murdered. Everybody on that jury is infected with mean pathogens. And they're concluding that white people are evil under the numerous synonyms that anti-whites use. And so therefore, this white man who's sitting there as accused, he's obviously wrong. He's obviously evil. He's obviously guilty. And that non-white people are always virtuous, innocent, etc. And if they ever do wrong, it's because they were put in a place where they could do nothing but wrong by the evil white race. And so sympathy for the non-white person, and hatred and retribution and retaliation for the white person. That's what happened there. And of course, what was her name? This anti-white, non-white legislator that shows up in town and says, you've got to get more confrontational. Of course, she can say that and get away with it. Of course, any suggestion that she did wrong is tabled. Of course, PBS, a reporter from PBS, would be defending her rather than reporting. Of course, they're anti-whites. Let's just get to the business of fixing the issue. Maxine, is that her name? Of course, Nancy and the rest of these anti-whites are turning George into some sort of saint. Of course, Nancy looked up at heaven and she said, "Thank you, George." Of course, when the so-called, I shouldn't say that. I'll talk about a different person now. When the president says that, oh, this is a small step, it's always a small step. This is all you can ever do in the anti-white narrative is placate. All you can ever do is very briefly atone or atone for some small measure, but it's never enough. Because what do we say in the 9 words? Atonement cannot be made for a grievance never committed. All you can do is make a tiny bit of here's some more. Here's some more victims. Here's some more blood. Here's some more of our blood. Here's another human sacrifice for you. What do you think when you see things like this, that these convictions are not, if not human sacrifices? What do you think when these children, like the one they're talking about now, we mentioned on PWR, the little boy who was murdered by his anti-white caregiver, babysitter, that's a human sacrifice. And how many of these people now, parents and friends, will come out with sacrificial pride because of how sick they are with anti-whiteism? That's a term we haven't talked about much. I think it's going to be an iteration too. They're going to come out and say, well, no, it has nothing to do with has nothing to do with anti-whiteism, has nothing to do with this ideology that's dominating and destroying Western civilization. It was a glorious thing, in fact, that I'm so glad that our baby died that way. You see it all the time, the sacrificial pride. These are human sacrifices. They are avatars standing in for you until they actually chain you up and take you away. It doesn't matter what the particulars of the case are. So there's no use in complaining about it. No use in endlessly complaining about it. No use in endlessly complaining about double standards. The only time you mention any of this is to introduce the lexicon and dialectics of going free, and for those who are amenable, going free itself. And we've got to do it fast. There are people who are hungry for it. Everyone should set aside time every single day. It would take 30 seconds to get into a chat somewhere and leave a comment or a thread, a live chat, whatever it is, and leave a comment. Are you seriously going to walk around still shaking your head, wondering if somebody else is going to do it? Not the people who are already going free. I'm not speaking to you. Everyone else. Are you seriously going to wonder if somebody else is going to do it? Are you seriously going to continue to pontificate about who's behind it? Who's behind it? Anti-whites are behind it. Okay, now we can move forward. Are you seriously going to document all of the data and all of the things going wrong? All right, we know so much is going wrong. We know that the data is on our side. Now let's do something about it. Anti-whites dominate the nodes of power. They dominate news, entertainment, media, academia, education at all levels. What did we just have with this private Christian school where the teacher records himself talking with the dean, I guess is what it is. And the dean is openly says in what he believed, I guess, was a private conversation, not being recorded, that, oh, yeah, we're totally demonizing white people. And yep, that means that the white kids are going to be demonized. And he tries to phrase it as, well, the white kids will feel less than. You know what a healthy parent, I'm not even going to tell you what a healthy parent would do to that dean. I know what I would do to that dean. I would introduce him to the worst tickling session he has ever had. When are people going to get, and Blair said one thing, he started going a direction and I'll keep taking it. When you see this stuff and it makes you angry, it makes you fearful, it gives you a powerful emotion, whatever it is, the terror troops, the anti-white terror troops in the streets, is the anti-white occupying army in your city, a city over? Are you worried about them coming to your house? Are you worried about your little boys and little girls being taught to hate themselves? Or as a vicious anti-white bastard would say, Kerr would say, well, I guess they're feeling less than by being taught to hate themselves. Angry about that, sad about that, pair it with your love for white well-being, and then get busy, damn it. Start letting people know with the dialectics and the lexicon and where they have to go free. We want to get out to the good people out there, brothers and sisters. Forget about the content creators who are explicitly white sympathetic. They know. They already know they're not interested. Get away from the ant-nats and all of that sort of business. Go out to the good people. Right to self-defense, freedom of speech, freedom of association, conservatives, MAGA, on and on down the line. What's going to happen when their talking heads and their organizational leaders see you in there? Well, they're going to complain because they need to be gatekeepers. Their income will disappear. Their popularity will disappear. Their self-aggrandation will disappear. So what? Let them complain. They ban you, move on to the next one, or create a new account. Get to the people in those accounts. In every Western country, nowhere are we going to be able to rise and to recapture our destiny. Nowhere are we going to be able to do that in any country without it happening in multiple places, because the anti-whites will just use the power of other Western countries against that country. Do you need any reruns? It's got to be happening everywhere. You got to stop, get away from this idea that it's going to be the nationalism of your country and the nationalism of somebody. No, that has already been defeated by the anti-whites. We have to be a single people with many countries, or we are not going to succeed. And if you have a problem with that, it's because you're too goddamn myopic. It's because you can't see the truth for the nose on your face. And I will happily tell you, if you want to complain about it, you want to make a point, I will happily tell you how wrong you are. Because folks are going to start ending up on that hot seat in those courtrooms. And they already are. And that is what we are trying to prevent as much as possible. You got this absolute scumbag talking in a way that's very potentially is going to end up getting people arrested. All of the corporations that have been supporting, the national and international corporations that have been supporting the anti-white terror troops, paying for the anti-white terror. I want you to think of them as like real world, third world guerrillas, except they don't have to practice guerrilla warfare because they have the numbers, they have the people in positions of authority to drop charges against them, to give them carte blanche wherever they go to destroy, wherever they go to maim, wherever they go to occupy. So it is more like the armies of the past. But they have the corporate, you're going to see more of these national and international corporations giving millions to fund these anti-white terror troops. That is what they are. They are terror troops. Everybody, so many folks I'm talking to, they can hardly think straight because they're afraid that the terror troops are going to come to their house. Is that simply a rioter? No, the police would protect you from a rioter or a looter. The police are not going to protect you from terror troops that are protected by the state and funded by the state and these international corporations to the tune of billions. Nathaniel Nelson is with us. He financially gifts $5. Thank you, brother. And he writes, by God, we'll have our home again. That's right. Amen to that. Let me see what you all are saying in the live chat. It's probably going to jump on me. Some of your chats might disappear. Tag me and write them again. Western Sunrise. Okay, we've got that one. This is where it's probably going to jump on me because it was static. Jonash said, or is it Jonash says, ahoy. Jonash, is it Jonash? Kent says, hello, No White Guilt, and my fellow brothers and sisters. A big hello to you. Great to see you, brother. Blue Skies is with us. Hello to you. Magnificent Kevin is with us. Have you heard of the current? No, we've got that. Breezy is with us. Great to see you. Maybe let some of the folks know. We're not going to be here much longer. Give them the URL. Let folks know while we're live that they can jump on and they can ask me questions. They can say, hey, you're full of Sierra, Jason, and here's why. And then I will show you how dumb you are. So we could do that as well. You can invite folks over to say that. You could say that yourself. We don't have all the time in the world. I don't have time. I'm not going to suffer morons like I've been suffering them for the past 2 decades. You have to be an adult. You have to give up the fantasies. You have to you roll your sleeves up and get to work with the material that works, that changes lives. Art Acrobats asked the question, and thank you. Rocky Balboa is here. Great to see you. Baldor is here. Great to see you. Art says, was the jury afraid of being killed by BLM terrorists? I can't say for sure. And you know, the anti-whites would immediately delete this channel if I said they were. But I will ask you this. What do you think the odds are that anyone sitting on that jury would not be afraid that they would be murdered, or their family murdered, or their home burnt down while they're inside, or their children murdered, or their spouse murdered? What do you think the odds are that somebody's going to sit there and and I'm not, my fury is not a you, Art Acrobats. You're one of our champions. Celtic Slav is here. Hello to you. My fury is about everything that's going on, especially seeing that little boy that was murdered, that lovely little boy right before we got underway here. We saw on PWR Mark shared, and it's stuff like that. I just it really gets me fired up. So my fury is not at you. My fury is that my position is that no human being would be able to look at this environment and sit on a jury and say, in fact, I told people, I'll tell you what I said in just a moment to them, and sit on a jury and say, I'm not afraid at all. I'm not afraid, even though my identity is going to be revealed after this trial, even though it's almost certain. I mean, if people commit suicide in federal maximum security penitentiaries, well, surely my identity will make it out into the public. And therefore, and you really think that anybody is going to say to themselves, well, I'm not afraid of it at all. Don't care if, and even if I am afraid, don't care about being murdered. Don't care about family members being murdered by a bunch of fanatics that you can't reason with, that's going to show up at your house. Like on these videos, everybody saw the cities burning across Western civilization, where you see these fanatics, these terror troops, anti-white terror troops marching down the streets, and then these white booby idiots coming out of their houses, and they're like, look at my sign. I'm as anti-white as you are. Look at the sign I have in my yard. And they screaming back, we don't care. You're white. We don't care. We're going to keep you up all night. You're white, so you get to suffer. Of course, I can't even fathom a human being that would not be terrified of the repercussions of anything other than guilty. Now, I said to some people that I could see a juror saying, maybe at the beginning of this, when being interviewed, I will absolutely not participate because I will be XYZ'd. And you can go ahead and fine me. You can go ahead and whatever the penalty is in that state for refusing to participate. But that's what I'm going to do, because the fine is easier than murder, or the fine is easier than rape, or the fine is easier than losing my job and being impoverished for the rest of my life, and destitute, not being able to pay my mortgage, car bill, health insurance for my children, and on and on and on. Not being able to earn a living for what I was trained in and spent 4 years, 6 years, whatever it is, 2 years to get trained in, not being able to earn a living at that. Maybe have 20 years of experience, not going to be able to earn a living at that anymore. No big deal. No big deal. Let's be real. The anti-whites, they know very well. They know very well. But like I said at the beginning, they don't require that terror, because everyone sitting in that jury is going to be infected with MPs. Magpie says, why so many white folk tonight? Why so many white folk thought the outcome would be any different than it was? I did not see anybody who thought the outcome would be different. Mestizo is here. Great to see you. Southern Bloom is here. Douglas, Tyler, European Housewife. Great to see you. Andrew, I don't know anybody who thought that the outcome would be different. Thank you, Joe Nash, for the links in the question widget. I didn't see anybody. Nick is here. Great to see you. Who thought it would be different than a conviction. And this sort of thing, we can go ahead and prognosticate, predict. We can go ahead and predict what these trials will be like in the future, can't we? In the future, and by future, I don't mean 20 years. I mean very nearly right now, going to be here before you know it. There'll be trials where evidence will be absolutely insurmountably on the side of the avatar of Western kind who is present in the trial, and they will still be found guilty, or their case against the anti-white of whatever race will be dropped. 100%. It's going to be, because this is the South Africanization. This was all happening in South Africa even before it got as bad as it is now. If anybody was Magpie saying that they thought it was going to be a different outcome, let me know what reasons they gave. Maybe I'll speak to those reasons. Bass Guitarist is here. Great to see you. Magpie says that would be great. I don't know what I was talking about earlier, but thank you. Mestizo says your thoughts on how content creators would react. Content creators would react to what? Me criticizing them? I don't care. I could not possibly care less. Let them go into conniption over me criticizing. You know, are you talking about where I watch them live and then criticize the conclusions that they're making? I assume. Peacecraft is here. Great to see you, good brother. He says, appeal opinion, please. You want my opinion on a possible appeal? I'll jump to that really quickly. The Chauvin he wants to be alive, right? So he has to appeal this. There are certainly grounds for appeal. When you have a legislator show up the day before, when you have a president saying that he prays to God that the jury comes back with the right conclusion. When you have a legislator show up and the legislator saying, if you've got to get more confrontational if it doesn't turn out the way that the anti-white way, you definitely have grounds for an appeal. And there are grounds for an appeal apparently that took place during the trial itself. Prosecutors mentioning things that they were forbidden to mention by the judge, and then the judge not throwing the case out, probably to leave it open to an appeals judge to throw it out. But what do you think is going to happen? So yes, there will be an appeal because Chauvin probably wants to be alive. And what do you think is going to happen with the appeal? Well, probably what happened with this trial. It's going to be the same. It's going to be the same board of anti-whites. This time it'll be, you know, whatever judge or en banc or however they do it in that state, and they'll look at it and they'll say, well, we'll let it move to a trial, and so that maybe we can, you know, just be done with it because we know that the way it's going to end up being found, or we're not even going to permit it. Just go ahead and stick him in the jail. We'll see. But I would be. I'll just say that. Right now. If we get more information, I'll happily speak to it. Now, when it comes to the content creators, how they would react to me talking. Let's say we come across a Doom documenter and he's just documenting the hell out of how horrible the Chauvin trial is, and he's going on and on about this piece of data and that piece of data and this piece of data. I'm going to criticize him. Why? Not because I don't like him, don't even know him, but because we are not going to recapture our destiny as a people unless we get our asses out of the coffin. It's not going to happen until we get out of the coffin. And that's what I use for thinking out of the box, because we are in the coffin right now. And they're pushing the soil down on top of it. We're going to have to get out of that coffin. And that means that some people's feelings are going to get hurt. That means that some people are going to look stupid because I point out to every one of their viewers how dumb they are. In cases where I don't have to point out how dumb they are, where I could just have to maybe nudge a little bit this way or that way, I'll happily do that. But where they are clearly being stupid, I'm not going to suffer it anymore. For God's sakes, I am shadow banned every single platform, everywhere I go. The anti-whites are shadow banning the absolute hell out of me. So I'm going to talk wherever I can, whenever I can, to get as much attention as I can for the practice that works. And again, my fury is not directed at Mestizo. He's fantastic. He makes a bunch of great memes, and that he's shared a few with me. The ones that he shared are great. So it's just over this in general. I'm going to be getting out of here. So if you want to speak up, speak up. We're running out of time. Let me run through these. Pearl Lady is with us. Great to see you. Do you think Derek Chauvin will win an appeal, or is it already a foregone conclusion? Really spoke to that one just a moment ago, but thank you very much, Pearl Lady, for the question. Remember, you have to tag me as No White Guilt on YouTube, and you have to tag me as Jason NWG over on D Live for me to see that. Not looking at any of the other platforms at the moment. And let's see, I just had an anonymous financial gift. Thank you very much for that. I'm not exactly sure how to, I will get on top of that. Thank you very much for your anonymous financial gift. Nick says, Jason, are you part of NJP? Absolutely not. I assume the American lads are getting behind chairman, and then I guess you're writing the name Mike there, and the I'm not even something called Ranch Squad. I have no idea what that is, and I will not participate with any ant nat or be seen with or talk to any ant nats, and so they believe that they have a route. They believe that they're going to take those vehicles that have been used many times, and they're going to somehow have success with them. I don't think so. I would be willing to bet everything I have on it. But where any of their participants are endeavoring to do good things for Western kind in a way that comports with my morality, I endorse those individuals. Where people focus on, in NJP or anywhere, where they focus on other groups of mankind, I find that reprehensible, immoral. We don't want that done to us. And not only that, but focusing on other groups of mankind has always and will always fail. Will always fail. But thank you very much, Nick, for the question. Bikini Bandit is here. Hello to you. Great to see you. Raucous Drift is here. Great to see you, brother. And says, hello, been a while. Hope you are good, dude. I am very good. I am always doing magnificently. Every day I feel like I get more into my prime. Magpie says, is there anyone in the Minnesota Correctional Facility ethical enough to send Derek Chauvin to a less inky system? It's not. I doubt it's going to matter, because anti-whites. You look out into those streets to the people who are wearing the balaclavas most of the time. Those people spend a lot of time in jail. They're vehemently, viciously anti-white, and they call themselves by various names. So wherever he ends up, Derek ends up, he's going to be surrounded by people who are anti-white and who are going to want the opportunity to murder, maim him, whatever it is, because of the glory that it'll get them amongst the other villains that are in and outside of the prison. Think of the praise. Think of the praise that the establishment media and these universities will give to somebody who murders him in jail. I mean, for God's sakes, they took, what's his name? Ron, whatever his name was. And he was the head, I'm not going to say the name of the organization, but competed with the Black Panthers. And he was involved in, I think, some murders. I don't know what he was actually convicted of in the end, but rapes. Even his own followers came forward, I believe. You'll have to look into it for yourself to find out all the facts. He goes to prison. He was working with the FBI, I believe, as well. Goes to prison, and then as soon as he gets out, he gets hired by Antiwhite, one of the prestigious university, to become a professor there. And so this is the norm for the anti-whites. No reason to be shocked about it. They will celebrate this whoever murders or maims Derek in prison to the heavens. Hallelujah is here. Great to see you. Got a bunch of people I haven't seen in a while. Great to see you back. I guess Western civilization, and I'm not saying that about the ones I named, but I guess our civilization being having an anti-white occupying army in it, and all of these other vehicles and these anti-white terror troops able to move through the streets and do what they want with impunity, given absolute carte blanche, license to do whatever they want to the people, to the society, to the businesses, etc. License to do whatever they want. I guess having watched so long these old vehicles, these other ideas, still losing like they've always lost. I guess that makes people nervous enough to start. Hey, let's go back to that. Let's go back to that idea, that practice that seems to be helping a lot of people. Let's head on back over there and see if something can be done. Something can be done, but you are going to have to be able to participate. You're going to have to be able to get into it instead of wait for some political party that's going to come to you. It is insanity. Insanity. No party is going to do it. No violence is going to do it. You can be in a uniform and you can be restraining a person. And I'm obviously right now, for all the anti-whites at YouTube, I'm not talking about the Derek Chauvin trial, but you can be in a uniform and imbued with the authority to restrain citizens. Restrain them the way that you are trained to restrain them, and then go to jail. So you are not going to be able to commit any violence. They will run you down. They want you to talk about violence and to think about violence. They will gun you down. Harold Cat is here. K. Max McDonald is here. Great to see you all. Based Red Pill. Greek Man says a true warrior is white, positive, and peaceful. Precisely. Sandra is here. All true on prisons. Yes. Thank you for backing me up on that. Full of anti-whites of all shades. Ian says, Jason, thank you for all your work. You have the most sense of any voice in the white sphere. You're one of the few people who truly gets it. Well, I appreciate you saying that. Thank you very much for that testimonial. It's very important to share such testimonials so that others who show up can read such things and then find their way as a consequence, instead of still wondering who's really, because we're going to have millions and millions of white people. It's already starting to happen. They're getting scared and they're looking for answers. They know that the conservative, Republican, or whatever it is, parties haven't been able to do anything for them. They haven't been able to push back the tide of their entire lives. They haven't been able to push back the tide. They haven't even been able to explain things in a way that makes any sense, because things continue to happen in a way that continues to shock and amaze the leaders, and how the anti-whites are able to do what they do. So folks are going to need a place to go where we have the answers. It makes sense. You improve your life, you improve your family, and we can improve our communities, take back our destiny. Thank you for discussing the question I posted. Says Magpie, you're most welcome. Thank you for standing strong for American principles. I'm an over 60-year-old lady. Do you see an end without a racehorse? Says Sandra. Absolutely, there's an end to anti-whiteism without a war. Very important to say, because I'm getting ready to wrap this up. Understand this, everybody. The context that we are in today is not necessarily, and then maybe I should just say not, the context we're going to be in tomorrow. Does tomorrow mean actually tomorrow, Thursday? Does it mean next week? Does it mean next month? Might mean next week, might mean next month, might mean next year, might mean 2 years from now, might mean 5 years from now. The context is going to change, and it's going to change in the context of society, what's taking place, the zeitgeist, the power holders, etc. And it's going to change because, number one, we're going to put our shoulders into it and we're going to make it change. And number two, you can have events outside, external events that are part of nature, that are part of some other group, in society, some other group globally, international relations, who are endeavoring to increase their power. They're going to commit this or do that or whatever it might be. It'll change the context in which the conversation takes place. That means that there'll be opportunities to us. There'll also be new challenges. We have to be strong enough numerically, with the liquidity, the connectivity, etc. We have to be strong enough here in service to white well-being to be able to overcome the obstacles, the new obstacles that are created for us, or they just are part of the changing dynamic. We have to be able to circumvent those, and we have to, more importantly, be able to make use of the new opportunities that are presented to us. We are not going to be able to make use of those opportunities if we are not empowered, if we do not have the connectivity, if we do not have the business leaders and etc., the liquidity, everybody coming together in service to white well-being. We will not be able to take advantage of those opportunities, and it is going to be those opportunities that could be like a wormhole. So many people watch sci-fi. I always hated it, the majority of it, since I was very young, because of all the meme pathogens, all the anti-whiteism in it. But think of it as a wormhole. We are where we are today, and where we want to be, the recapture of our destiny, seems like it's so far away. If the reason why that is because the human mind is always stuck in a permanent, in a now forever, a now permanence. No matter how high the IQ, it gets trapped there and it can't think any other way. Understand this. That is a failing of human intelligence, human vision, mental vision for humanity. These opportunities to wormhole our way to where we want to be in the future are arriving all of the time. So even though where we want to be, given a now that is permanent because of the limitations of the human mind, even though it seems like it's an eternity away, the opportunities to get there are like this. We just have to have the power, the liquidity, the numbers, the connectivity, etc., going free, using the lexicon, changing the zeitgeist in which the conversation has to take place. People have to hear what is working. And there doesn't, therefore, need to be. That's why when we look at these things, Sandra, and everybody else who's thinking the same thing, that's why, because of this immediate permanence limitation to the human mind, we think that all of these great things have to take place before we can get someplace. That does not have to be the case. We can change things quite rapidly given changing contexts and recapture our destiny in a way that prevents, that causes less bloodshed, less tears, less horror. And what we want is none of those things. If good people of all immutable characteristics come together, just as an example here, against anti-whiteism, which is what is destroying Western civilization, and everyone can see it, anti-whiteism would be over tomorrow. It would be stopped tomorrow. Thank you very much for asking that question, actually, Sandra, because folks need to hear that again and again. They get trapped in the immediate permanence, and they can't see that things can happen in this wormhole type of way. New True North says, please help with everybody going on please help with everything going on in the world toward our people. I feel this crippling impending doom. It makes it impossible to even function at work and wake up in the morning. Thank you very much also for this question, New True North. You're suffering what we're referring to now as BIBS, the Biden-induced bipolar syndrome, BIBS. It's an easy way to remember it. There's an easy cure for it too. Stop all of your intake of doom documenting and doom dissecting. Don't watch any more news or any more live streams where the people are talking about here's more bad and here are all the people behind it. Don't watch any of that. Instead, go free. And work on yourself and work on those in the environment around you. Make your focus small steps within yourself and small steps in reaching the people around you with that lexicon and dialectics. And with every victory, you will feel a mounting momentum to achieve and be able to do more. And you will be able to achieve and do more as a consequence. Thank you very much for that. Get away from doom documenting. James says, do you think it would be a good idea to make low-cost, pared-down edition of Go Free for us to give out to people? Maybe so. I'll think about that. Thank you for the suggestion there. Very much. Fraulein says, a terror troop will now become like the bully on the playground and bully Western kind for their paycheck, home car, wife, children, and even their life. Absolutely. I said all the way back in junior high school, and you can read about that in my true story book. It's called Crucible. You can get that at nowhiteguiltcollectibles.com. You can also get it at Amazon, and it's in Kindle form as well. I said all the way back then that as soon as they had the vote, the anti-whites, as soon as they had the vote, they would vote the car out of your driveway and the house out from underneath of your ass, and it would all be legal. Well, was I right? I was 11 to 13 years of age. And that's exactly what is happening. Why is that important? Why is that important? Why is that important? Why is it important that what I said ended up being the case? It's important because if you want to go right, you have to grab hold of the tools that work so that you can be right. Going free, the practice of going free, is a lens that every single person can put up to their eyes. And as soon as they do, they can see the world for what it is. They can predict, just as I am able to. That's everybody else going free and who's been doing it long enough can make the exact same predictions, and they do. And they can also retrodict. They can look back and understand everything that has come before them. This is not some sort of innate talent of mine. This is something that I have developed with a scientific method, and now everyone can use it. European housewife says, bless you, dear brother. Well, a big bless you to you and your wonderful husband. You are great people. Thank you for being here in service to White Wellbeing. Greg says, dude, I don't care what you say or what you place or where you place the credit. You are a badass. Thank you, brother. All right, Greg. I appreciate it. Thank you for that. I'm definitely fired up over the murder of that little boy and how nothing is going to be said because he was white and his murderer was anti-white. Remember, that's what matters. It's whether or not they are anti-white. That's what matters. Now, the reason why they're not going to report the fact that this person is non-white is because that contradicts the anti-white narrative, and therefore it gets buried underfoot. It is a what, folks? A hush crime. That is another MC from going free. Take that out into the world. Use that in your life. Transform your life and those around you. A hush crime. It was a hush crime. Why is it a hush crime? Because it contradicts the anti-white narrative, wherein non-white people are always good, always innocent, always moral, always better. Everyone in the anti-white narrative, according to the anti-white narrative, is equal. But in every single case, non-white people are better, according to the anti-white narrative. So this contradicts it. Therefore, it's not going to be said to the masses. There are a whole line of premises that are sewn into the MCs that you can use, meme curatives from going free, so that you win the conversation. You don't even have to know what is under the hood. You don't have to, you get in, so many of you get in your car and you drive every single day. You have no idea what's going on under the hood. You don't have to understand why going free works. You just have to use it. Mestizo says, one content creator suggested that all police pull out of those dangerous neighborhoods. These are sort of these snarky kind of comments. That's not an actual suggestion. Nobody's able to achieve that. I mean, why not say, why not his suggestion be that they all put on the Terminator suits that make them robot strong and have lasers. I mean, that's just a childish statement that whoever that content creator made, that's just a childish statement. Nobody can effectuate that. It's not going to happen. These people, where they're being harmed, what did we say in going free? I got to get out of here. It's already 5:19 Eastern Standard Time, Christ's sake. And I apologize to the Christians. So what did we say here? All of the non-white people who get harmed, this is last year over the summer, white people are going to get blamed for all of it. And what happened? White people, by various excuses, were blamed for all of it. What did I say about their businesses? That they weren't going to be impoverished, that they would end up getting taxpayer dollars to rebuild their businesses, your dollars. That's what happened. That they would be reimbursed for dollars lost. That's what happened. They're receiving the business stimulus. They're receiving. That's all happening exactly as we said. And good. I mean, I want to see the who knows? I'm sure a large part, maybe most of the non-white business owners in these areas are good people and they certainly don't deserve to have their businesses burned to the ground by a bunch of psychotic anti-whites. But everybody should be getting those stimulus for their businesses. And there's one group that's at the back of the line, and it's white males. And you'll have to check with CNN to make sure that that is true. Or you could actually just go read the legislation as we have done. And I've posted much of the legislation. Greek American says, Doom documentary wastes a lot of young people's lives away. Yeah, it absolutely does. The anti-whites, when they're young, they're getting together and they're talking about how do we slit the throat of Western kind. That's what they're getting together and talking about. What is everybody else on the other side talking about who doesn't want to have their throat slit? They get together to talk about, whoa, look at the next horrible thing they did to us. And look at that horrible thing they did to us. And who's behind? Let's talk about all the names of the people behind it. That's what they waste their time on doing. Rambling Rattlesnake says, have you read From Her Eyes a Doctrine? And if so, did you enjoy it? I haven't. I'll have to look that up to see what that is. I think we're almost done here. I'm going to have to jump over here. We have over on Entropy, the great Joseph. Great to see you, dear brother. Financially gifting $25. This is a real champion in service to white well-being, folks. He writes here, I have a few scripted responses with the lexicon ready to go that I copy and paste and drop into comment threads all the time. It is easy and quick. Always include a link to www.nowhiteguilt.org. Amen to that, brother. And remember, folks, when you are writing a link, a URL into somebody else's thread or live chat, spell out the word dot, put spaces if you have to between the words so that your message will appear. But Joseph has it right. Many people do this. They take meme curatives. They take responses to things that we've used here that work, and they have them on a Word document or somewhere saved on their phone, on their tablet, on their desktop. Then they just grab them, paste them in, and they keep moving, and they can hit up a bunch of places at once. That is what a modern advocate for white well-being does. That is what a real hero looks like today. He doesn't LARP in some antique shop searching for the helmets and the flags and the economic and political ideologies that you can find in antiquity. Looks like K-Max says here in the question widget, Jason, do you feel the time is ripe to convert more to our side? I see a lot of blue-pilled people questioning everything right now about our system. I do think it's a time. It is absolutely a propitious time to bring over even millions of vagues to going free. It is absolutely possible. If we were to get to some of the bigger names, some of the bigger content producers, and we do that by filtering up to the point where they just have to start using the lexicon and dialectics of Go Free. We've got to filter through. If we filter through all of these people, if Andrew Torba decides to not just say anti-white this and the other thing that he was saying all yesterday, and I applaud him for that. If he actually decides to say, this would be magnificent, hey, folks should actually take a look at this practice called Going Free. It'll teach you all about anti-whiteism, and it'll teach you all about anti-whites. If he were to do that and we were to start getting more people to do that, we could change the world. And we're talking about changing the context. We could do it this fast, that fast. But we're not going to be able to do it. All of these videos, these secret videos of teachers talking to professors and all of that, it's not going to do anything. It has never done it. There has been worse in the past. It is not going to do anything if people do not start using the lexicon and dialectics of the practice of going free of the meme pathogens, going free of the anti-white narrative. It doesn't matter how many secret recordings you've heard. I don't know how old K. Max McDonald is, but I bet he's probably heard 1,000 secret recordings that were as bad or worse, and nothing has happened. The reason why is you cannot stay in their story and wield their pen and have any success. Nordic Iron says in here, no white guilt in here. Thank you, brother. Great to see you. Going free is cool. Old symbols are dead and in the past. Western Sunrise, not listed donation, was from Western Sunrise. All the best, brother. Well, Western Sunrise, God bless you. Thank you so very much for that. Western Sunrise with a financial gift, and I will grapple with how to actually process. And thank you so very much for that, dear brother. And we did hit the question widget. Looks like I haven't missed anybody. I'm going to get out of here, folks. With Sandra really quickly says, thank you for the great Fornull is with us, ladies and gentlemen. Actually did a face reveal the other night. The man is beyond talented. I heard a skit between him and Imminent Rain. The talent that is there is better than if these guys had the money that finances Hollywood and the like, it would be Hollywood on steroids. We have the talent. We just have to start getting to the people and stop making excuses. Stop feeling sad for yourself. Stop feeling pity for our people. Stop being other than Western men and women. Sandra says, thank you for answering my question. I grew up in segregated times. I thought we were past all that. There are ones in our nation who wish for, well, there might be, there are some anti-whites, I'm sure that, listen, the point of anti-whites is to inflict injury on Western kind, Western civilization. You don't need to know any more than that. You don't need to investigate any more than that. That's all you need to know, is that they are here to anti-whites' goal. The only thing they want to do is inflict harm on Western kind and Western civilization. There is no other thing you need to know. You don't need to know any names. You don't need to know any histories. You don't need to know any lineage. All of that is a colossal waste of time. All of that are things that if you start talking about it with your friends, family, or strangers, first of all, it's not going to do anything for you as a person. You're not going to get any better by going into all of that. But when you start talking with friends, family, and strangers about this, all of this other unnecessary stuff, you burn your reputation. They're not going to want to hear anything that you have to say about going free. All you need to know is that anti-whites desire above all things, and they will lie, and they will cheat, and they will manipulate, and they will be as wicked as you can imagine to victimize Western kind. That's us. That's you, if you're a Westman. And to destroy Western civilization. Why? Because you destroy the things that are loved by that which you want to harm. You destroy all of it, because every bit of its destruction, every bit of its white erasure is pain for your victim. That's why they act. And in their aggregate, they accomplish biological white erasure. In their aggregate, they accomplish a general white erasure. The cities, streets change. The names of buildings change. The history books are rewritten. That's why it's all happening. And the only way to put an end to it is to go free. The only way to put an end to all of this that we are suffering now with these bogus trials or legitimate trials or whatever it is, ask CNN, of course. The only way to put an end to it is to implement the practice of going free. It's a practice like eating or working out. You implement it in your life. You have to stick with it, because if you stop working out, you lose your muscles. If you stop eating right, you get fat. You continue to go free for the rest of your life. You help your friends, family, and strangers to do it. And we change the world.